Welcome back. I'm Adele, your host at Inside Singapore's Sports Business. Our show is brought to you in collaboration with Sports Singapore and the Tote Board. Today's ISSB episode is all about sports technology and innovation. So we're back here at our beautiful National Stadium at the Singapore Sports Hub, and we're going to find out more about the sports tech happening here as well. So let's get started. So we are now seated with our two guests for today, Mr. Michael Henry, the CTO at Singapore Sports Hub, as well as Ms. Iris Cordoba, the GM at GSIC, the Global Sports Innovation Center, powered by Microsoft. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we start today's little discussion, maybe we can introduce you guys to our audiences. Tell us a little bit about your background, professional, personal, favorite color.
Sure. You have to go first, or?
Yes, of course. I think my favorite color is red, like you. I was born in Argentina, and I worked more than 20 years linked to support a small and medium-sized company to try to reduce the gap between large companies and a small one. First, worked more than 10 years in the economy minister in Argentina. I studied law and I have the doctoral degree and the master degree in policies, public and the administration market. And then I have been living 18 years in Spain, working in promote the clusters organization, is the spaces where we try to invite different stakeholders to try to promote different industry, working in entertainment and promote the Spanish language. This is maybe why my English is not very strong, but I promise my Spanish is excellent. And create the first Spanish cluster in Spain to try to promote and use the technology linked to the language. And then Microsoft invited me to launch the first innovation center focused in sport, the GSIC, and now we opened the GSIC in Singapore last December, and we are working in the setup of this new office here in Singapore. I try to give visibility for the women too, because I'm a mom. I'm leadership in the sport, and I have some recognition, some awards about my role in the sport and tech and in the women's sector in the sport.
Wow, and now Singapore welcomes you.
Yeah, sure.
How about yourself, Michael? Your favorite color would be?
But that was a very high standard. I will try and meet that. My favorite color is blue. Look, I have a background in computer science. I've been in technology for, I'd say, 25, 26 years, generally around the development of strategies and the execution of business innovation side of things. So working from sectors in the finance sector to mining, and obviously here in the sporting and entertainment sector, which is great. So at Sports Hub, we deliver world-class sports and entertainment experiences through our kind of large-scale venues. And my role here is to navigate us through transformation by adopting technology and integrating technology that increases our ability to engage with our customers, our fans and our spectators, but also provide services that our event kind of organizers can use to provide better experiences for their fans as well.
And both of you obviously already know each other. Have you been working together already?
Yes, because Sport Hub is part of the GSIC, because the GSIC is a non-profit organization promoted by Microsoft. And we invite all the stakeholders linked to the sport to be part, because in the end we offer the meeting point where we help the sport entities in the digital transformation process. We have more than 300 members in 44 different countries. And SportsHub is one of our strategic partners here in Singapore, and we are working together in create more engagement and seek more solutions that can help the SportsHub and other sport entities in the digital transformation process.
So it's been great having the team in the region. So when I joined SportsHub, I immediately reached out to the team and thought that their vast kind of ecosystem or their vendors will be really important for us to understand where the stadiums are going kind of globally and to really get the expertise. So since the team's been in Singapore, our ability to integrate into the network and for them to help us on our transformation journey has been great. We've been introduced to a lot of fantastic vendors locally as well as globally. So it's helped us out quite a lot, I would say. Yeah, it's been great so far.
When we think about the Singapore Sports Hub, a lot of our guests have mentioned the amazing world-class facilities. As a Singaporean, I think of it as this iconic, building in my landscape, and of course, people always talk about, your Singapore stadium, it's so high tech. So to me, it's already so high tech. So are you able to share what are some of the projects, tech innovation projects that SportsHub is working on? Yeah,
look, when the stadium was built, it was fitted out with the leading edge tech for that time. But obviously over time, technology advances, but more importantly, the consumer expectation changes as well, right? So we are really looking at embedding or integrating the modern technologies to enable our customers to connect to us more. Enable our fans to have more of an immersive experience when they're at the stadium, at the event, but also remain connected as well. So for SportsHub, it's around, using stadium technology. So we're not necessarily there to do sports tech. We're here to do the kind of stadium tech. And the things that we're sort of looking on really is around that kind of customer experience and ensuring that we keep up with the demands of all the generations. So not just one generation, but all of them, and making sure that we can engage with them in the manner that they want to be engaged with. The other area from the event organizer perspective is to ensure that we have purpose-fit technology in the stadium that can be used to help the event organizers integrate in like a plug-and-play format. So when they come here, that they can deliver their events or their experiences to their fans. And that's what we're sort of really focusing on from that experience perspective. And we're looking at two key main tech areas. One is the kind of power of 5G. I think it's well known that 5G will increase speeds and give us the ability to push more information and so forth. But for us, it's a game changer because we'll be able to engage and provide an immersive experience. And 5G unlocks a lot of capabilities around virtual reality and all the other technologies such as kind of metaverse, which I think we'll actually touch on in the next segment, but really start to use that as that baseline. And the other one we're sort of really focusing on is data and the importance of data, and to use to create a data platform that can be used to ingest a lot of data sources, bring them together, contextualize them, and use that data to deliver experiences for our kind of spectators, but also deliver data to the event organizers as well.
So how does this innovative sports technology at the Sports Hub, how does it also then benefit the players and the fans?
Yeah, so I guess we're focused on the fans, right? And it's around connecting people to Sports Hub and connecting people to the events. I think it's very important to remain 100% focused on experience, because what we're really doing is we're not just transforming here at SportsHub, we are transforming with a specific intent around increasing experience. So things that we're looking at is around developing our own SportsHub app where we can engage with our customers. They can download it. We can provide deep, rich information of events that are coming up, and they can always remain connected to us. And at the event, we can send data, information, stats, and other fun things that they can do as well. And from there, it's really around, from the application, be powered by 5G and give us the ability to change the dynamic or change the way that spectators experience the event. Because 5G will enable us to send them a lot of information, but also receive a lot of information from them as well. So it changes the dynamic of a spectator just being a spectator to being a collaborator, like at the event, and co-creating content and sharing that content and creating experiences inside the experience that we're providing for them, so they can consume the information how they want to. They can create an experience that they can share with their friends that's kind of sitting next to them or kind of sitting at home as well. So we really sort of, focus on those kind of key areas.
Nice. I look forward to downloading the app. How about yourself, Iris? What are some of the tech projects that you're working on right now?
Yeah, we are the innovation center. In this sense, we are working in different pillars. But I think when you think about digital transformation, what digital transformation means, in the end, the digital transformation tries to help the sport entities to create new revenues model, new revenue stream, the possibility to try to connect in different ways with the fan. Because if you think maybe in 100 years before, if you are fan for some sport, you can pay for the ticket, you can read and hear the news in the radio or in the TV. But today, the fan is in the spotlight, because he not only consumes the sport and the content, he is the own creator of the content. And in the end, the sport is entertainment. And this is why today we talk about data treatment. The value of the data is very big. Mike talked about the data and how you can identify the fan and how, for example, how many money spent in the stadium before, during the match, after the match. And in the GSIC, we work with small companies, large companies, and sport entities to the idea to try to reduce the gap between the small one from the large, and to try to help the startup or the small companies to become a real provider of technology for the sport entities. And in this sense, we are working in scenarios like e-sport, fan engagement, smart venues, team and players and performance, all the sensors in the helmet, in the insole, in difference, in the player, in two ways, because the player looking for extend the sport alive, but also they need to prevent the injuries to play more time in the sport. In this sense, technology like a thermographic camera, where you can see like a map heat in your body and understand if you have a hot point in your leg different with the other leg, is like you maybe can get a lesser in the short time. Technology to try to monetize with the engagement, virtual reality, augmented reality, NFT, blockchain, all of these work that everybody I'm talking today. We have in our ecosystem members from 44 different countries that are working in these kinds of technology, and in the GSIC we try to show this solution and create activities to connect with the challenge that the sport entity has and with the services that this company offer. And in the same way we try to promote the local sport tech ecosystem. This is why we opened this office here in Singapore with the objective to try to create a bridge between the entrepreneurs here in Singapore, in Asia, with Europe and Latin America and the US. Why we don't dreams, maybe some company from Singapore can become provider of technology from the Real Madrid, for example, no? Because today Real Madrid or Barcelona or River Plate, my club in Argentina, working maybe with Israel company. Why not Singaporean company can become in real provider? This is our activity, try to promote the local ecosystem, try to help the sport entities and evangelize about the benefit that the technology has for the digital transformation process.
So our show producer loves numbers and statistics. Me, not so much, but for his sake, I will ask, can you give us a gauge maybe of how many sports innovation companies you are dealing with? Are there in like hundreds, thousands?
Yeah, and about like a member, we have more than 300 members, but we categorize more than 1,500 companies in the world with in different scenarios, no? Sport for good, accessibility in the stadium, e-sport, solution to try to help the security in the stadiums, in the event, but in the end, the number of the startup or the company who are working in the sport grow every time, and I think I'm working like a mentor for the university, and I always say, when you have a good product, you don't need only investment. You need someone who help you to sell this product, no? And this is why the GSIC try to help the small company to go together to the market, no? But the number about the solution in the sport industry are growing every time, but the technology that the sport industry use is similar than in other sectors, no? Because sport is health, sport is tourism, sport is security, sport is entertainment, no? And in this sense, we can create best practice and knowledge transfers between others industry, not only thinking of sport. No?
And how many, out of that number, how many are in Singapore?
In Singapore, we have currently 44 members in Asia, 14 startups, and the rest are large companies or sport entities like One, IMG, Sport Singapore, of course, Sport 5, a large brand, and startups 14.
So I would love to pick both of your brains about, sports tech and the tech trends that you see happening now in the world in sports tech, and what do you think is going to come to Singapore?
So I think from my perspective, maybe not necessarily a tech trend, but it's a consumer trend, right? And it's the consumer's requirement or a change in behavior that they want to be the creators of their own experience, right? And they want to be connected to the event or the stadium or, kind of where they are. And if I look at some of the things that sort of how that kind of manifests, it's the ability for them to understand what's happening at the event themselves. So if I take, for example, kind of how many times have you been at a concert and you need to go to the restroom, but you don't know if your song's coming up or not, right? So the ability to check on your phone, on the set list, if your song's coming up, and you can make that sort of key decision on whether you stay in your seat or you quickly dash to the kind of restroom. Those are the decisions that help consumers create their own experiences, right? So they don't actually miss out on things, right? It's their choice. And I think that technology really has the ability to kind of harness the data and all the types of information that they need to make these decisions. Is that what you're seeing as well in terms of some of these trends?
Yeah, sure. I think the big data or the data is the key to the currently trends, no? And how you use this data, no? Because you can have a lot of the data, but if you can't use in the good way, it's not good data, it's bad data. No? And in
Help
this
us to
sense,
make meaning of the...
yeah, and in the sport, other trend is the metaverse. No, the last few months, I think all the industry are talking about the metaverse. No, what is the metaverse mean again? No, in the sport, we can show how some sport entities like NBA use or gave the first step to create the metaverse linked to NBA, no? And in this sense, we can see in the coming months or years two different experience in this metaverse where the sport entities can create other digital assets, no? Because in the end, this metaverse allow us to increase the number of the fans in the stadium, because here I don't know how many fans you can 55,000, but maybe with the metaverse you can duplicate or maybe infinite number of people watching your match and create this new digital assessment where allow you to monetize, and in the end maybe you can imagine the fan with their own avatar can share this experience with people in other country, in other region. In the end, is again, no, the fan have the control about what and when and where they want to experience the sport. And I think the key is the experience that you can give for the fan. And the technology is only the tool that can give you the opportunity to create better experience for the fan, no? Better experience for the venue, better experience for the sport industry. And I think that the technology is who give this tool to improve the industry.
So Iris, are you seeing that a lot of companies are now looking to create NFTs and build their own metaverses? It seems like a trend. It seems like everybody is minting. And
yes, sure. No, it's for example, we worked 3 years ago with the Real Sociedad Football Club to integrate the NFT in the T-shirt and how you can connect your T-shirt, the fans T-shirt, with your phone, and you use your T-shirt to enter in the gate in the stadium. You connect your T-shirt with the phone. You can collect point to share or change with in the for merchandising. And this is the first step, no? But I think today a lot of clubs are working with NFT, with tokens, and in the end, I think you need to create the basis to create the building in the good way, no? And I think the first one is have the platform. Mike talked about the own app. You need maybe create the single sign platform to collect the data of this fund, and then you can provide different solutions, NFT, blockchains, so on. No, but you need to create the house with the basic, no, because the technology is change very fast, but you need to have your own platform to integrate all of these solutions. No?
Yeah, and I think the key thing around kind of NFTs is the ability to link an experience to it. Yeah. Right? So you might buy like an NFT, and I think the World Table Tennis at the Singapore Smash have really started to create some interesting ways to engage with the fans. So they had the kind of NFTs around the first ball that was hit and other key moments in the actual games and so forth. And that's something that you can buy, you can take home, and you can own, or you can sell in the future depending on how it all goes, right? But where I've seen other companies and where we're excited on is linking the NFT to an experience, so a kind of real world experience. And so if you buy this kind of digital token, right, having that ownership unlocks a physical event for you. So if you buy a certain token, it may unlock a VIP pass at the next event, or it may unlock a certain experience that you can physically attend to as well. And I think the companies and the brands that are merging these two sort of kind of physical and digital together, they're the ones that are increasing and changing the paradigm in terms of how we actually engage and consume this as fans and I guess kind of spectators as well.
So like we hear of all these huge like football clubs and on gaming platforms, like they are buying and owning their own home clubs. So will we get to own our national stadium NFTs? But that would be like millions of ETH.
Yeah, I think where the kind of metaverse goes and all that in the future, it's quite unknown. Where it is now, it's essentially, version 1 is inside games such as Fortnite and so forth, right? As a stadium or as a business, we're kind of future sensing where the demand will go for the metaverse. And yes, in the future, we may see a metaverse version of the stadium, and you can go as an avatar and kind of walk around. There may be kind of NFTs you can buy within there. But at this stage, we're really just kind of, as I said, future sensing where things are going.
Right. Well, that would be really exciting. You can NFT that one seat and I'll buy it and that's mine. And every time I come in here, it's mine. Wow, that's really exciting. And what are some of the trends that you think is more popular or really picking up speed in Singapore, the sports tech trend?
I think from a stadium perspective, it's the use of augmented reality and virtual reality. So we've been looking at a few areas that we could provide that experience with. And one thing that keeps coming up is the ability to from a virtual environment, kind of run through the player's tunnel, right? And experience coming onto the field of play and feeling the crowd roar and the emotion and that sense of excitement that the actual players get. So that's a sort of a key area that we're looking at in the future as well. The other one is very similar to that, and just being able to interact with different parts of the stadium in like a virtual world. So having little games where potentially there's like a sticker on a wall, and you will scan your phone in front of it, and that's now like a football net. And you can flick your ball into the football net and that type around the stadium, and then certain areas around certain activations. I think all these things around, increasing the excitement and the activation around the event. That's I guess a key thing that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
In my case, I think the phone, no? I don't know if it's the trend, but if you need something to eat, you use your phone. If you need a car, you use your phone. If you need to connect with your friend, you use your phone, no? And currently, the phone allows you use holograms to create more experience linked to the sport. But also, for example, we have members that are working in solution in the fall. The name is Watch Together. That you use your phone in the same stadium. Maybe we are here in this box, but my mother is in the other side of the stadium, and you connect with this kind of app to see together, watch together the match regarding where you are, no? And you can create like a room with your friends, with your family, with your work colleague, and at the same time you can live and experience this match. No, I think this is not the future. This is today. And for example, La Liga in Spain are using this solution, Watch Together, for give more experience for the fans.
So you think these are what is going to be happening in Singapore really soon?
Sure.
Wow.
I think we are, for example, this final of the table tennis. One member are working with them to launch this weekend the special experience with virtual reality where in real time you can see the final. No? This is something new here in Singapore, but it's other way to experience the match, experience the event, and this is real this month, this week in Singapore.
Wow.
So I think the technology around these type of solutions is kind of more mature. It's just finding the right use case in Singapore, right, and making sure that it makes sense. Because, it's, I think, gone are the days of doing technology for technology's sake. It needs to create an experience. It needs to change a business model. And I think that what the companies are doing in Singapore is, okay, this is the technology, so now how do we apply it? And I think that's the current situation that we have. So definitely in the future, in terms of AR, VR, on-demand viewing of things, I think would definitely be a future trend that will come in.
How?
Sorry, and in this end, I invite all of you, the people who are attending this or watching this activity, because here in Singapore we open the showcase and we show how this kind of technology is changing the sport industry. You can test the HoloLens with augmented reality, you can use the virtual reality, you can understand how others sport entities or others competition are using different technologies in different scenarios. It's open for all the public. You can see in our website and you can ask to visit in the next open day our showcase.
So that was my next question actually. I was going to ask, what do you feel about the receptiveness of Singaporeans towards sports tech? We obviously love watching sports here in Singapore. We're so excited every single time there are more and more sports events being held here. But in your experience, how receptive, how easy is adoption going to be for sports tech?
For me, technology as a whole is adopted quite quickly in Singapore. So I think it's a natural extension in terms of using technology to experience certain things at sporting events. So I see it being just a seamless evolution of our phones, of what we're wearing, and sort of just accepting it. And I would even say not just accepting it, demanding it, and making sure that, that the businesses or the developers keep up with the consumer trends. Consumer trends force the developers to do more things, and it becomes this cycle. And I think that is key amongst different areas in Singapore. And I think that the sport tech area and the events is a natural progression of that.
I agree with Mike. And for example, in different scenarios like wellness, I think in Singapore the level of the use of technology is very high if you compare it with Europe, for example, in wellness, on how they manage the COVID safe measure. I think Singapore is example for the region of other country about the level of the startup that we are working with us are very good. For example, in scenarios like eSport, I think in Singapore with the Global eSport Federation based here in Singapore, the different events linking to eSport 2 is very good, and we are very happy about the level of the company here and how they are developed solution in technology in the sport. No?
So we know
Very
that
good approach.
The audience participation is a huge part. Entertainment is a huge part of the sports industry. So how do you think, making so much improvement in the experiences for audiences, how do you think that impacts the players, our sportsmen, our athletes?
Look, I think experience is key to an event, not just from the audience perspective, but from the players. So if we look at what happened at the Suzuki Cup, right, when Singapore was unsuccessful, but everyone here stood up and clapped them, and there was this sense of pride, right? And they were engaged and they were immersed and they were part of something bigger than they are, right? And I think that experiences and technology enable people to do that on a day-to-day basis and on an event basis. So to be feeling part of something, to be feeling close to that team, you are more passionate. And players feed off passion. They feed off crowd. They want to be proud of, what they're doing. And they, we all like, I guess, appreciation for what we do. And I always just go back to that moment, when everyone stood up and they clapped. And it was, to be here at that time was a very once in a lifetime kind of experience. And we could only hope to create similar experiences for players through the use of technology, like in the future.
I think as well, like if we look at some of the NFT use cases already, like people can support their favorite players through buying the NFTs. So I don't know. I'm very excited about the future of not just gamification, but in this experience, it hadn't crossed my mind before how the technology. I come in here and I enjoy the stadium, but technology really did enhance the entire experience.
In the end, the fans want to be part of the show, and they can be part of the fun. Connected with other fans, connected with the players, connected with the sport entities, creating content, give support. And I think this is the key, where the fan and the sport entity and the player work together and create synergy to go to the next level together. I think this is...
Yeah, and I think it's all about connection. And I think NFTs is just a modern, different way to connect. And it's also the ability to be part of something that is kind of bigger than you. So if we look at, some of the trends that we've seen in the use of kind of NFTs, it's around crowdsourcing funding, right? So if you buy an NFT, it may go to that athlete's fund and so forth. So, you get something, but you give something. And as humans, we are connected to each other, and we like to have opportunities to help each other as well. And I think the NFT is just a modern way of doing that, right? It's almost like sending a get well card back in the day, right? When someone was sick, you would send them a get well card, and you're making sure that they're thinking of, that they know that you're thinking of them. In the kind of modern world with the NFTs, you can be part of creating someone's future with funding that their sport or their campaign or whatever, and you're letting them know that you care about them, that you want them to do well.
And you can connect, you can support, and you can share. Because today the fan need to share in the social media and connect with sharing their life. And I think it's other way to share, to be part of this future.
So how about for you, Iris, personally, of all the sports tech innovation trends that you've seen so far, what are you personally maybe most excited about? Is there anything that stands out, or?
No, I like the augmented reality, because when you use the virtual reality, you are immersed in the glass, With the augmented reality, you can continue looking around you, and at the same time you create some hologram and you can interact with this hologram. And some sport like Formula 1 or also football you can experience. And for example, with the Real Madrid, we made the pilot where you can use the HoloLens. You can enter to the Bernabeu Stadium. You can put the very big screen all in holograms and connect with the match in your own screen hologram. You can say hello at this time for Marcelo player, and the player say, hello Irish, how are you? All in one experience in your living room at your home. I think this is amazing.
Wow, Wow, okay, so you like the interactive, creative interactive process. How about yourself, Michael? Is there anything?
I mean, I love technology, all of it. I think for me, the technology that I see really making a difference, again, I know it's a bit boring, but data and the ability to use artificial intelligence to create moments with that data. So I keep going back to, the ability for your application to get to know you, right? So if you're like at an event, for example, that the application checks the weather and says, hey, when you came here, you came by the train. It looks like it's going to rain. Would you like to book a taxi, right? And it automatically does these things for you, right? And to really start to be your virtual private assistant. And this is what I guess gets me out of bed, is where technology now is able to do that. We just need to find the right kind of business case and to ensure that it's adopted en masse. But I think the advances in technology over the last 2-3 years, and obviously the pandemic spurred a lot of innovation on. I think for the next 2-3 years, we'll see the output of that, and we'll see our consumers and our customers are demanding more, which will make life fun for me because then I can do more and I can make their experiences coming here, but across the industry, more efficient, more engaging, and more safe.
So it's like we're teaching our devices how to take better care of us.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is sort of in the background learning about our likes, and if you're here and it knows that particular song that you always play on your kind of music app is coming up, it'll tell you, hey, you better sit down for this one because your favorite song's coming up, right? And that learning and the ability for it to learn now is going to unlock a lot.
So in closing, maybe can you both shed some light about how Singapore as an innovation hub, how do you think this can shape the future of Singapore sports?
Yeah, look, Singapore has been an innovation hub for quite some time. If we think about the redevelopment of Block 71 in 2011, it was a specific intent to create an innovation hub in Singapore that can be used to use technology to disrupt industries. And the ecosystem that has been created down there is exciting. And it's got full support from the government. We've got support from NUS, support from the kind of public sector as well, and some key agencies in Singapore. So the Infocom Media Development Agency and STB, they also use the Block 71 kind of ecosystem as part of their platform. So the IMDA has a platform called the Open Innovation Platform, where they link business, the kind of business problem owners with the wider Singapore technology, kind of ecosystem and the startups. And on this platform, you can, get, assistance to solve your real world problems. In fact, we partnered with STB last year to put on the platform an open innovation sector challenge on the use of 5G to create experiences. And not just for SportsHub, it was for the entertainment sector. And we had some fantastic engagement with traditional businesses, but also startups. And the ideas that came, the fresh ideas and the innovative thought processes that came, it was inspiring, right? And we're going through our evaluation process now. And obviously all the work that kind of Sports Singapore has done to bring you guys to the region and your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. In this end, we are very happy to work very close with Sports Singapore and their 2030 vision, where they designed the special strategy about the digitalization and the industry. And this is why we are here, invited from Sports Singapore, working to create the real sport tech ecosystem with a global vision, because Singapore is a very small country, and the idea is create this bridge within other regions and create internationalization program for help the local ecosystem been the reference for the rest of the region. In this sense, the last year we launched with the Sport Singapore the first startup competition focused only in the sport here in Singapore. And this year we launched the second edition of this startup competition with the idea to create pilot in different sport entities to continue this path to increase the number of the startups in the sport industry.
And you think that helps us? I mean, also we have huge events like the F1. We are able to hold that here. Do you guys attribute that to the sports tech innovation that we have available in Singapore as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think Singapore is on the map for a number of reasons, right? It is our kind of government policies and the fact that things just work here, right? And I think that being able to attract the larger events only gives us more reasons to consistently disrupt ourselves by moving our own dial in terms of the technology experiences and wanting to provide a better experience for those events coming and the kind of guests coming into the region as well. And I think one of the great things around the kind of GSIC team being in Singapore now is, as I mentioned before, it brings the world to Singapore, but it brings Singapore to the world, right? And it really bridges and opens up this pathway for our sport tech and our entrepreneurs and our kind of innovators to get experiences, to kind of Real Madrid and La Liga and all these things that they probably didn't have or was perhaps more kind of difficult in the past. So I think all that together is why Singapore continues to attract all these great events because they know it's going to be a great experience when they come.
And in this end, I think Singapore is the best practice for the region. After the pandemic, the number of events that is hosting Sport Singapore for this year is amazing, no? Formula One, table tennis, Suzuki Cup,
the Stand Chart Marathon.
Yes, 3x FIBA basketball, and I think this is not only the best practice for the region, it's for the rest of the world too, no? And work close with the major event and the technology have sent, no? Because you can use this area, this country, and your local company and foreign company to create more pilot and more best practice to share with the world. And I think it's very smart, and it's the way where Sport Singapore look forward to become an international reference in this sense.
Well, Michael, Iris, you both give us so much to look forward to in the near future. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to the SportsHub app.
And make sure you download it.
I will download it. As I'm a Singaporean, I adopt apps very quickly.
Excellent. Thank you to you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks very much.
This concludes today's episode about sports tech and innovation in Singapore. Make sure to join us next time on ISSB.